On this episode of Death by Adulting, we discover why pink flamingos aren't really pink and what that has to do with sweet girls being attracted to total jerks. Next, why are men like waffles and women like spaghetti? Followed by how to have a good fight. Then, really? That's a thing? Strange baby products. Our thoughts. Megan's boss adulting tip of the day, plus much, much more. Roll the intro.
I wish that I knew what I know now when I was younger.
Well, welcome back to Death by Adulting. I'm your host, Megan Scheibner, and I'm joined today by my co-host and one of the adultiest adults I know, Dr. Steve Scheibner. Dr. Steve, what have you done in the adult world so far today?
What have I done in the adult world today? Okay.
This was painful.
This is painful. We switched bank accounts and payments that things came out of. So, all of us have like automatic drafts set up out of like credit cards and bank accounts and so forth. And then you forget which comes out of what, right, over time. And then eventually you'll get a thing that says, oops, your payment didn't go through. And you have to go and figure out how to do that. Well, we did this to ourselves. We actually switched bank accounts. And because we didn't like our old banks,
After
so we're
like
switching to a
30
new.
years.
Yeah, after like 30 years. And so can you imagine how many things come out, like mortgages and medical payments and oh my word. So we went in this morning and we didn't fight too much as we were going in and trying to rearrange things. Fortunately, a lot of the stuff is online now, which is honestly, it's a lot easier than it used to be. Back in the old days, kids, and you'll have to ask your parents about this one. They had to make a phone call, right? And but back in the day, they didn't have those phone chains that put you on hold forever.
Yeah, it's true.
An actual person would answer the phone. But at any rate, I digress. So we did do all of that, but that's like adulting 101, switching bank accounts and payments that come out. So
Yeah.
I'm glad we're here doing this, not having to do that.
Yeah, and I have one word
fun.
for you.
What's the word?
Passwords.
Oh, passwords. Oh, don't get me started. Okay, let's jump into an impromptu episode. If I were emperor for a day, I'd get rid of all of those imbeciles that set up passwords and have them change every 90 days. That's what I would do. And the idea that it has to be complicated on top of it. So it's so complicated, you can't remember what it is. You have to put a number in, and then you have to have a capital letter, and then you have to put a special character in. Well, no, not all the time. Some of them won't let you put a special character in. So if you do, they kick out your password over it. And every 90 days, you're going to change it. And then you end up having to put all your passwords down someplace on a piece of paper or in your phone or someplace. And that makes them completely unsafe.
You okay now?
I'm better. Thanks.
All right, great. Well, you teased a subject or a topic at the top of this that is very dear to my heart because I love pink flamingos.
You do.
In fact, when we got our beach house that we use for retreats, it was the first time in my life that it was legal to decorate a room completely in flamingos.
Yes.
I mean, the light socket, the sheets, everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't wait to hear about the pink flamingos.
So let me make a little commercial for our beach house because we rent the beach house for about 12 weeks out of the year over the summer. And it's available. If you go to characterhealth.com, which is over there behind Megan, and click the Contact Us tab, just say, hey, I saw your podcast and I'm interested in renting your place. We rent our house for 50% less than everybody else does.
Absolutely.
It's an absolute bargain, all right? And you can stay in the pink flamingo room.
Well, and let me say why we rent it for that little. All of the emails we get back from people who are renting are, we didn't think we were going to be able to take a vacation this year. Right. And so for us, that's like joy.
It's partly a ministry for us. It makes a little bit of money for us, but it's also a ministry to help people go on vacation that maybe couldn't otherwise afford.
Because we know how important vacation is.
Right. Okay, so pink flamingos. So we started with that tease in the beginning.
Yes.
And I said, why are pink flamingos not really pink? And you think to yourself, are my eyes deceiving me? No. Adult flamingos turn pink, but baby flamingos are born gray. And it's interesting because they aren't naturally going to become pink. It's what they eat that turns them pink.
Okay.
It's what they ingest, right? I think it's fascinating. They turn pink based on their diet. Flamingos eat larvae. Ugh. Really? Okay. Well, no kissing your flamingo, all right? Small insects, blue, green, red algae, and that's the key, the blue, green, red algae. That stuff is the stuff that turns them pink over time. Mollusks, not to be confused with mussels, which are delicious, and crustaceans and small fish. So having said that, darling, the blue, green, red algae stuff combined together, it has an element of it called, and I'm going to read it here, beta carotenoid pigment.
Okay.
Maybe I pronounced that wrong.
I have an idea what that is.
Beta carotenoid, and if it sounds like a vegetable you feed your children, carrots.
Carrots have carotenoid.
Carrots have carotenoid pigment in it. It's the same stuff found in carrots. Okay, we just said that. And that's why when you feed your little baby carrots, they turn orange.
Yeah, especially their nose. Remember, we had a couple that were like, "Whoa!"
So you're not
orange.
losing your mind when you go, "Is that kid turning orange?" Yeah, it's because of the carrots. And if you fed them nothing but carrots, they would be orange all the time. And yeah, so having said that, we won't get political. So, but that's why adult flamingos go from gray to pink. It's because of their diet. It's what they take in. Now, there's lots of springboards on this illustration, at least for me. We are what we eat. We are what we eat. And the things we take in very much affect what comes out of us.
And that's not just physical.
That's not just physical.
No.
I'm talking about spiritual and emotional stuff. So let's build a bridge now to relationships with couples, right? Whether you're married, dating, just interested in somebody else, what you take in, what you ingest spiritually and emotionally has a huge impact on who you become and how you present as a person.
Yeah, absolutely. And in all four of the Gospels, Jesus really clearly states it's not really your mouth that's the problem. It's what's going on inside that comes out in your mouth.
Right.
And that really ties back to the teaser you gave about sweet girls and bad boys.
Right.
Because we've known too many sweet girls that listened to winning words from somebody who had a really rotten heart.
Right.
Right? They were covering what was really on the inside when their diet was, vile and perverse.
So help me understand this. I've been perplexed by this since I started getting interested in girls. Why do...
When was that?
About age 6.
Yeah.
I've always really liked girls. Debbie Sprinkle, if you're out there, I just want to let you know that in kindergarten I had a crush on you, and you probably know that after all these years. But if you're still out there and everything ever happens to her, then just give me a call.
You're coming for her.
Debbie Sprinkle, and all of them. I don't know if anybody has a type. All of them were blondes.
Yeah.
Debbie Sprinkle was a cute little blonde. I don't think I dated anybody that wasn't a blonde.
That's funny.
Yeah. So at any rate, I digress. Why do sweet girls get attracted to guys that are total jerks?
That's a hard one to answer because it is true. I wasn't that sweet, but I was attracted to really bad boys also. And I think it just feeds a little bit of the I can change him that is in girls. In Anne of Green Gables, she says this profound line. She says, I wouldn't marry a really bad boy, but I'd want one who could be bad, but wasn't.
Right.
And so I think, and this is part of how God made women, we think we can bring pressure of how sweet we are to help change this bad boy and give him a better life. But it never works. And we know far too many young women that have been caught in that trap and then end up just hurt. Because the problem with these bad boys is they're not kind. There's nothing kind in a bad boy.
Not a jerk.
And they will draw a girl in and then treat her badly. And because of how God made girls, which is girls are loyal.
Right.
It takes a lot for a girl to break up with a boy. They're loyal, and then all of a sudden they have these bad boys. And sometimes, I know this was true of me, I was surrounded. I had a lot of guy friendships, and they were really sweet guys, and I didn't give them the time of day because I had a heart for these bad boys. And I let myself be mistreated. And then I'd cry on the shoulder of the sweet guys, but I didn't give them an opportunity.
Yeah, so I've got a theory on all this as well, because I've thought about it over the years. It's interesting how many people think about something like this, but then they don't ever talk about it. And we're talking about it now on the podcast. But I think I've watched masculinity just diminish over my lifetime. And 40 years ago, not that every guy was more masculine, but I see so many more effeminate men today, kind of hand wringers and, purse wearers and playmates and guys that are soft handed. And they might make good friends or companions to females, but females ultimately are attracted to guys that are masculine, right? Look at, okay, so now this might not... I
know what you're going to say.
This might not set the test of time, but right now, Taylor Swift is dating...
Travis Kelce. It's all over the news.
It's all anybody can talk about, right? And whether they make it for the long haul that's something for another day. But she's very feminine. She's a strong woman. I mean, she's not only beautiful, but she's a
brilliant businesswoman.
She's a brilliant businesswoman, and she's a strong woman. Not every guy is going to catch her eye. But why is she attracted to this guy? He's masculine. He's a tough guy. He's not a jerk. I mean, he's a nice guy, but he's masculine.
Yeah, and if you look in the news, you can't miss it. I mean, they're all over the news. They show the comparisons with the other guys she dated, and there was a certain lack of masculinity in most of those guys.
Hand-wringers.
Yeah, Travis Kelce just exudes masculinity, but he also exudes gentlemanliness. Right? And so he's a different breed. Like when I started dating you, you were a different breed than what I had been attracted to.
Right. I was a nice guy, but I was still assertive and masculine.
Yeah.
And but nice guys, see, the problem is, and here's where nice guys get off base, because they watch all of the best looking girls and all the nicest girls and all the sweetest girls run after one jerk after another, right? And they get hooked up and they're like, why in the world how did I get friend zoned
again?
Yeah. And this guy just treats her like crap, and she just keeps going back. And then she comes to me and she cries on my shoulder and she says, you know what? He just treats me like crap. And I'm like, I'm a nice guy. What's wrong with me? Well, yeah, I know you're going to be a great father someday, and you're going to make a lot of money, and you'll probably be a pillar of the business community. But this guy wears a leather jacket and he rides a motorcycle and he treats me like crap. And I just can't get enough of it. And I think young girls mistake that jerk for somebody who's masculine. Yeah. Because he comes off assertive, but he's never going to provide for you any sort of security. He's always going to be that guy that lets you down ultimately, because he's selfish and self-centered. Yeah. And it's a false type of masculinity.
Yeah. And this is not a good paradigm, but especially in young Christian girls, which I was one, there's a little sense of, I really want to love Jesus, but I also want to be a little edgy. And you can't be a little edgy with a good guy, because that's not what they're looking for, right? But with a bad guy, if I'm a little edgy, he's going to think that's great.
Right. You can't have one foot in both worlds.
Right. Decide who you are. Choose this day.
Choose you this day whom you're going to serve. Right. That's
absolutely.
Right out of Joshua. Yeah. Right. And decide this day whom you're going to serve. And that's really a wisdom from the ages. Yeah. For that. Okay. So let's now segue a little bit. We talked about the idea of sweet girls and jerks. But let's go back to the notion of you are what you eat, what you take in spiritually and emotionally and everything else. And how does that impact relationships going forward? Give me an example.
Well, so it's interesting. Pink flamingos, can't hide that they're pink, can they?
No.
Right. So what we feed on, whether it's if we feed on biblical influences, if we feed on, good fellowship, if we feed on things that help us build good character, that's going to be unmistakable. However, if we feed on pornography, I'm stuffy today, gaming, ladies, social media, the wine culture, any of those things, it's going to be unmistakable too. You can't, for the long haul, hide who you really are. Now, can you for a little bit of time, could you go into a group of people and try to kind of chameleon with them and hide that really what's on the inside doesn't fit, maybe for an hour or two, but it will slip out. So what you feed on affects every relationship you're in, because eventually, I have known young women who were like, well, all the church girls didn't include me and they didn't want me along, but that same girl had an edgy side, a rougher side of life, where honestly, the good girls were just making a choice not to be corrupted, right? Because it came out eventually.
Right. I think sometimes you see people they're not the same person every place they go.
Yeah.
They are like a chameleon. They are, they put it on for whatever crowd they're with at the moment. And that person is ultimately very distasteful because you see through that. And even if you're not with them in all these different venues, you kind of get that impression from them that they're putting it on for you, but maybe there's somebody else. And for me, I just, when I was younger, I decided I'm going to be the same person wherever I am. Now you have to decide what type of person you want to be.
Yeah, you could be a jerk anywhere you are.
But at least you're a consistent jerk, right?
Yes.
You're not an inconsistent jerk.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be a jerk. I want to be a nice guy. And I figured, well, you know what? If some girl friend zones me, then that's her loss.
Because I was waiting in the wings.
Because you were waiting, right? And you didn't friend zone me.
I didn't friend zone
and,
you.
But you also, you were what, 22 when we met? 21?
20.
20?
I was 20 when we met.
Oh.
I'm a little younger than you.
Ooh, I was a cradle robber. Well, I was only 22 at the time, but honestly, back in those days, that's a lot of,
It was a lot, and I looked like I was about 16.
Because I was about to graduate from college, and you were what?
A sophomore.
Yeah. A sophomore. And, but it all worked out. Okay. So at any rate, you didn't friend zone me. And I think at that point I had decided I wasn't really just going to date for the sake of dating. I really wanted to just get to know a woman, before we started the romantic stuff.
Right.
And
Right.
you had kind of come to the same place in your life, and that was good. So we got to be friends for quite some time. Even though you didn't friend zone me, there's something different between being friends and being, oh no, that guy's always going to be a friend.
Right. I want to throw in a little parenting application here.
Sure.
Because that idea of being a chameleon will end up being distasteful in relationships like employee-employer, your friends, even your spouse might put up with distasteful. But for your kids, it's absolutely destructive, because if they watch mom be one thing at home or dad be one thing at home and something else out in public, their whole view of the world is skewed, right? And you're teaching them really young that you can be a hypocrite. And for Christian parents who live this kind of chameleon life, you can expect that your kids are not going to walk with the Lord, because they've seen that it's just an act, and so it doesn't transform their hearts.
Right. That's good. So you are what you take in.
Yeah.
And so you need to, I think the takeaway from this segment, at least for me, is I need to kind of be a good judge of the things that I indulge in. Guys will try to say this. They'll try to make the argument, and this is going to lead us into our next segment here. Guys are going to try to make the argument that I can view pornography and it doesn't affect anything else. I can spend 8 hours a day gaming and it doesn't affect anything else.
Yeah.
I can, because guys tend to compartmentalize more so than women do. That's a generalization. I realize that. Doesn't mean that women can't compartmentalize, but men are like waffles and women are like spaghetti. We're going to talk about that in just a minute. Guys tend to do that. Where women, everything is connected in their lives, like a piece of spaghetti, right? So they see how things are related to one another. It's much more a complex thing than men approach it at. And so guys either deceive themselves, but then they allow themselves the hedonistic, pleasures of life, thinking naively that it doesn't affect anything else, and it does. It affects everything.
Yeah.
It comes out of who you are, whether you think so or not. You radiate a certain spirit, and that spirit is what you have taken in.
Yeah, and we can say that from the counseling table, because sometimes, and it goes both ways, men or women will come in and say, I can't explain it, but there's just this weird vibe in the house. And then that's a clue for us.
Yep.
We begin to dig, because weird vibes come from somewhere. Steve, I think there's a word, and if I'm not wrong, we've hit on it in every episode, but making these adult decisions that, good decisions today that we won't regret tomorrow, it all comes down to being intentional.
Right.
None of this happens by accident.
Right.
If we just allow the ebb and flow of our culture and daily life, we are feeding on junk.
Right.
You have to be intentional to feed on what's good. It's
Correct.
not as easy to feed on what's good.
Right. Adulting, if you will, is not something that you just, it's not a casual sport. It's not something you just ooze into. And over time, I guess, I have become an adult. I think it's something that you have to get real deliberate and, like you said, intentional about. It's hard work. But with everything in life that's worth something, the more work you put into it, the more value you get out of it. And so that's a great takeaway. The idea that if I work hard at my job, I will get rewarded. If I work hard at my relationship with my spouse, I'll get rewarded. If I work hard at making myself a better person, everybody gets rewarded for that. So all of those things are not easy. They're not complicated either, but they're also, garbage in, garbage out, right? If you feed on garbagey stuff, you're going to get nothing but garbage out. And then you wonder why your life isn't amounting to anything, or you're not getting the satisfaction that you thought you should be getting. The adulting world has lots of challenges in it, but at the same time, what you put in depends on what you get out of it.
Yeah, and really the ultimate reward we're talking about is found in the Psalms. It says, God honors those who honor him. And if you work hard to honor him by the intentional choices you make of what goes in. And I think all of you would recognize this, that we know some 20-year-olds who are really adultish. I mean, they're handling that transition to adulting very well. But I also know some 40-year-olds that behave like 18-year-olds. And that, it's like a little vomit in the back of your throat. I mean, it really is, because you go, this doesn't fit.
Right.
This just doesn't fit.
Yeah, it doesn't. Okay, so let's make the transition now to women are like spaghetti and men are like waffles.
Yeah.
Now, there was a book years ago by that title, Men Are Like Waffles, Women Are Like Spaghetti. And I bought it, and, it was okay. It was okay. Great title, but the premise of it was men tend to compartmentalize like a waffle, right? And women tend to have everything connected. So, and my application of all of that is, gentlemen, now listen to what I'm going to tell you. Men are like waffles, women are like spaghetti. Everything is connected in their lives. And at one end of that noodle is you love me, and at the other end is you don't love me. And it's amazing how quickly you can travel from one end to the other. All right. My wife, Megan, over here, this gal right here, the adorable, the fair and lovely Megan. She is a woman, and everything in her life
Very
is
noodly.
very noodly, and everything in her life is connected. She is a gift giver. All right. So here's an illustration for you. Years ago, she knows I like button-down collar shirts, and she was out shopping, and she was thinking, I love that man. I'll get him a gift. Right? Now, I think if you love me, you should sit next to me and hold my hand or rub my head or pet me on some way. That's physical touch and closeness. But she's a gift giver, all right? So she's going to love me through getting a gift. The bottom of my love language list is gifts. Now, in another episode, we'll talk about love languages. We'll unwrap all of this. But just follow me on this. So she's a gift giver. So she sees this nice shirt, and it's in the cellophane. It's all got the pins in it still, all folded up. She buys it for me. She calls me on the way home, and she says, hey, who loves you? And I go, oh, you do. And she says, yeah, that's right. I got you a gift. I got you a gift. That's how it always goes. And so she walks through the door, and she's got it behind her back, and she pulls it out, right? And she says, I got you a gift. Here it is, a shirt. And I like it. I liked it. It was a nice shirt. And so I go, hey, great. Thanks, honey. Right. And I do what you do with your shirts. I'm going to now take this shirt and I'm going to put it in the shirt rotation. So I pull open the drawer with, button down collar shirts, and I put it at the bottom, and it eventually, after about 3 weeks, makes its way back up to the top. I pull it out. Hey, next shirt in the rotation. I'm not a total jerk. I remember that she bought it for me. I take it out of the cellophane. I take the pins out of it. I don't even take time to iron it. I just put it right on. Now, it's been 3 weeks since she gave me the shirt. I walk downstairs and I got the shirt on. And I go, hey, honey, what do you think about that shirt you got me? And I get this. It's fine. Anything wrong, honey? No, everything's fine. Well, you seem a little off. Are you sure everything's okay? No, everything's fine. Now, I have no idea what I've stepped into. no clue whatsoever because I'm a man, right? And the shirt was in a little compartment, little waffle compartment. And that was 3 weeks ago. It's not connected to today. And on her noodle, I went from, I got you a shirt, see how much I love you, to you don't really love me. So then like the umpteenth time, as my mother would say, I asked her, is anything wrong? And then I get this, you don't love me. How did we go from how does the shirt look to you don't love me? How did we do that?
Every woman understands.
I know they do.
Yeah.
All the
Because
women right now are going, oh, you beast of a man.
That's right.
Right?
'Cause everything-
I absolutely get what is going on with her. And what the disconnect, as I learned later, was if you are married to a gift giver, okay? You're married to a gift giver. Whatever it is that they bring you, you've got to do it with it right away. If it sprays, spray it. If it rolls, roll it. If it wears, put it on. So now I like sweatshirts too. So Megan comes home with a sweatshirt, right? And I'm smarter now. I put the sweatshirt on right away and I go, hey, how does that sweatshirt look, right? And then the next day, what do? I put the sweatshirt on. The third day I come out, I got the sweatshirt on. After about a week, that sweatshirt's sort of like walking on its own. You know what I'm talking about? And then she goes, hey, why don't you give that sweatshirt a rest? I'm like, okay, honey. But you know what? As soon as it's clean, I'm going to put it right back on. There's a little sarcasm in there, but I want to get full credit for that gift.
Yeah, and I've rubbed off on you because now if you get me something and I don't wear it right away, or I buy a different version, you're like, oh my goodness,
but that's
so hurt.
We've been married together.
We've married a long
the
time.
two of us have become one flesh over time, and I actually like giving gifts now.
I know, and I love that. That's really good.
You have trained me.
It's interesting though, the same way that men have boxes, right, and women have the noodle, and men maybe don't understand the noodle because it's beyond gifts. It's things like you didn't put your coffee cup in the dishwasher in the morning, and I came out to dishes in the sink, which is my absolute lowest moment. It affects how I am with you later in the day. For women, men do have boxes, and there it really is something called a nothing box. Now that doesn't exist for a woman. There's nowhere on my noodle where nothing is happening in my noggin, right? I am always thinking and thinking what's happening with my husband, what's happening with my children. Do I need this for the house? Does that bill? I mean, it's all so interconnected for a woman that when a man needs that little bit of nothing space, and I still don't understand it, but apparently you're not thinking about anything. We have to allow them that. The same way they have to understand our noodling, we have to understand their box life, right? Living with one another in an understanding way.
I absolutely have a nothing box, and I try not to go to it too often, but sometimes I'm there. It almost, it's coincidental. Because the times you ask me to go into the pantry and find something is usually when I'm in my nothing box.
Oh, that's the reason?
That's the reason. I think I've come up with a reason. Because I'll go in. So, guys, follow me on this, right? Do you go into a cold sweat when your wife says go find something, or go into the pantry and get the peanut butter, right? Well, all of a sudden, I'm like in a cold sweat. I start to panic. I get a little bit of, I'm going to have a panic attack. So I go in and I open up the door. I'm like, oh my God, where's the peanut butter? And I'm looking. I can't find it. It's nowhere. I'm pulling things aside. I'm looking behind things. I'm like, she's going to come in here any minute. I've been in here for like 3 minutes, and she's going to come in and she's going to grab the peanut butter. And sure enough, she comes in after about 3 minutes and she goes, Steve, the peanut butter. And then she reaches right over your shoulder, right in front of you, right eye level, and grabs the peanut butter and pulls it out. And I go, how was that even there? I didn't see it. And how do you do that?
I don't know. So I ladies, I'm not an ogre, but you all know how this is. So it's not just you. Do you remember the banana incident?
I'm trying to block it out of my memory.
Okay, so I sent my two youngest sons. We call them the idiots sometimes. But my next youngest son had his driver's license, and I was going to make them banana snack cake for their sports, right? I always had it so they had a snack before their games. And so I sent them the 2 blocks away to the grocery store, and I said, I need a bunch of bananas. So just go get me some bananas, not too green, and come home with them. And they came home. And they said, well, there was a problem. The bananas were really small this time. So we bought you 24 because we wanted to make sure you had enough. And they opened the bag, and I had 24 plantains that they had gotten me. And they were so I don't know, crushed by that experience, that from then on, whenever I asked them to go to the store, I could see the sweat.
Yeah.
Like our youngest son is Guatemalan. He'd go totally white and
Right.
sweat and be
Yeah.
like, "You want me to go to the store?"
Yeah, it looks like a banana, peels like a banana, quacks like a banana.
It doesn't cook like a banana.
But it's not a banana. That's like a panic for a male. It's like, oh my God. And mom and I, who knew?
Who
right?
knew?
Right. Well, that's
Well,
how you
now
learn.
they know.
That's how you learn. I still haven't figured out how. I can't find things in the pantry. But anyways.
Yeah, I haven't
So
figured
men
that
are
out
like
either.
waffles, women are like spaghetti. More on that in the future.
Yeah,
that's
just tuck that into your toolbox.
yeah, that's a great illustration. And we'll keep talking about things that cause rubs in relationships based on guys trying to compartmentalize. And he's thinking, why isn't she thinking more like me? And she's thinking, why doesn't he think more like me?
Okay,
Right?
so I want to go to a touchy subject.
Yes.
Because we're talking about what you feed on, right? Ultimately, it's what we feed on that affects who we are.
Right.
Who we are. And so I said it can be distasteful to a spouse, but that distaste affects every part of our relationship. It isn't just a momentary thing. And speaking as a woman, if I feel like my husband is one way in public and another way with me, that's going to affect our sex life, right?
Sure.
I can't turn it on in the bedroom with someone that he's distasteful
Correct.
to me.
Correct. So remember, guys, everything is connected with a woman. All right. And so you can go quickly from you love me to you don't love me. And so the beginning of the day is connected to the end of the day. You follow me with this illustration? All right. And you're thinking, it's been a few days. I'd like to kind of get,
Shenanigans.
Shenanigans with my wife. And let's get hinky. There's a term from the early 2000s. And so at any rate, you've got amorous thoughts towards her. And you got up in the morning and you walked right by the sink that was full of dishes, and you didn't do anything about it. Now, I'm just here to tell you guys, here's how you get lucky later on. When you walk by that sink full of dishes, do the dishes, put them away. She's going to notice, right? She's going to go, oh, wow, that man's so attractive, right? Make the bed if you can. If you got time, make the bed. If she likes to make the bed, even if she doesn't, make the bed, put stuff away, straighten up a little bit. Do some things that are friendly and helpful to her. Call her during the day, not with, hey, I really want to get lucky later on today. No, don't do that straight out. Call her up and say, hey, how you doing? How can I pray for you? Is there anything I can pick you up on the way home? Can I make your life easier today? Anything I can do for you? And then there's nothing wrong as well. Sending a little romantic, text as well. Hey, thinking about you, wink, wink, that kind of thing. That's fine too, but don't just do that. So again, guys, everything is connected for her. If she feels, and here's the key word, if she feels secure, she feels well taken care of, she feels like you're looking after her and you're interested in her needs, all of a sudden that woman blossoms and she opens up to you. But if you're pecking away at her, and here's the illustration, men are like, here's the book I would write, men are like hammers and women are like a glass vase. Long title. But when you're building a house, a hammer is very helpful. When you're decorating a house and making it lovely and something warm and something you want to live in, a glass vase is perfect. So she is delicate. She's a little weaker in some ways. Not inferior. She's just weaker. If you hammer her like an old 2x4 or a nail, and you're sarcastic and you're short-tempered and you're impatient and you treat her like one of the guys and it's always trash talk with your wife and I'm just kidding, why don't you take it, lighten up, why don't you? Yeah. If you're doing that with her all the time and then you go to cozy up to that glass vase that you've just chipped away at, you're going to get cut. You just are. So guys, we need to treat our wives delicately, nicely, connectedly, like they are. If you do that, some good things are going to happen for you and also for her. So like you said, if you want to improve the quality of your sex life, it's not stop going to all those sites that tell you about better technique and all the things that you need to do in bed. That they're just trying to sell you something.
That's a physical act.
That's a physical act. The physical act will take care of itself if you take care of the emotional, spiritual side of things by realizing that everything in a woman's life is connected, right? I just gave you total insight to the key of understanding male-female relationship.
All right, and I'm just going to fine-tune that a little bit because women are not stupid men. And if every time you put the dishes in the dishwasher, make a bed maybe, change a diaper, whatever it is, then you're like, okay, sex, you owe me sex. They're not dumb.
So like you only do that like every 3 days?
That ought to be a regular occurrence that you come alongside. That's what we do as spouses. We help one another. And there may be jobs in your home that are pretty traditionally laid out. That doesn't mean you can't do the other ones. I mean, it's the same in a church. We used to run into, well, I sing special music, so I can't scrub a toilet. No, that's not how life works. And then the other part of the fine tuning is for the ladies. It doesn't matter whose job it is. If Steve does something for me, I thank him, because gratitude builds oneness in relationship. And you aren't lowering yourself. It isn't humbling to thank someone for loading the dishwasher. It's just grateful, right? And the more gratitude and thankfulness we show for each other, the more united we're going to be in our relationship. And the more united you are in your relationship, the more that's going to show up in every area of your life, including the bedroom.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, well said. All right, so if you've made it this far in this episode and you've liked what you've seen so far, do us a favor. Click that like button down below and subscribe so you don't miss any of this great content. And really do us a favor and share this with all of your friends out there. If you think there's somebody who would benefit from it, even if you don't think they were, just share it with them. That would help us out a great deal. You know how this works. All right. So thanks. Now, having said that, let's jump into the next one. All right. So we're talking about how to make things go better in certain places. But how about when things go wrong? You were going to talk about how to have a good fight.
Yes, and there are ways to have a good fight, right? We personally call it heated fellowship because, we're Christians, and so you have to Christianize everything. But there are times that Mr. Scheibner and I have had heated fellowship where we have a fight. And there are things, when two sinners live under the same roof, you're going to rub each other like sandpaper, and that's a good thing. But the process of being rubbed by the sandpaper is sometimes painful. And so how do you have a fight that glorifies God? Isn't that a weird concept, Steve? Because
it is. Yeah, it's a weird
whether
concept.
we eat or drink or have a good fight, whatever we do, you do all to the glory of God.
1 Corinthians 10:31.
Right. So we don't have an option of having an unglorifying fight.
Okay.
We got to figure out a way to glorify God in it.
So are there rules to having a good fight?
There are. I suppose you would call it rules of engagement.
Oh, good.
All right.
I like that. Yeah,
right.
Very pithy.
And remember, the goal of a good fight isn't that I win and you lose, or you win and I lose. It's that we come to a mutual understanding. Not a mutual agreement always, but a mutual understanding. So the first rule for a good fight is this: fold your hands. Fold your hands. Fights are one of those things that feel a little out of control, right? You begin, your blood pressure rises a little bit. You begin to if you look at yourself in a fight, you begin to breathe a little faster. Right. There's this pressure that comes from it. Fold your hands. That's a focusing technique. It works for toddlers too, but that's another episode. Fold your hands and begin to focus on what you're talking about. The second rule is this: make eye contact. Make eye contact with one another. And ladies, that's not rolling your eyes. That's not your ugly eyes. It's not glaring. It's looking at one another so you can see the emotion behind the words that are being said. That's why you can't fight over text. There's no emotion in the two-dimensional world of texting or emailing. And so when couples say to us, well, we had this text exchange. In fact, we had a dear, we call her our 9th child, lived with us, who was just a young woman, and she used to fight with her boyfriend, and she had a flip phone, and she was always almost out of charge, so she'd be plugged in the kitchen, sitting on the floor, and she'd be typing away, bang, shut the flip phone, open it up, type it away, boom. And they never resolved anything because it was this two-dimensional fighting. So look one another in the eyes. And the third is this, and it's going to seem a little tedious, but it is so helpful. Repeat back just a brief restatement of what you heard your spouse say. And don't do it word for word. You can't do that without being sarcastic. Sarcasm never helps a fight. It's like pouring gasoline on a fire. But repeat it back, because you know what? Sometimes Steve says something to me and I'm all riled up, and what I hear is radically different from what he said. And when I repeat it back, he can say, no, here's exactly what I said. And it helps us get to that resolution of understanding one another much more quickly and with far fewer casualties.
Right. So fold your hands.
Fold your hands.
Make eye contact. Yep. Repeat back a summary of what the other person said.
Yeah. And don't be shocked by fights. I mean, it comes, but honestly, the quicker you deal with issues, and I'm sure we're going to talk about how those issues pop up in another episode, but the more quickly you can deal with them, fighting fairly, the less conflict you will have in your relationship.
Right. And we do fight this way. I can always tell when we're having an argument because one of us will do like this and then we stop. But it lowers the temperature in the room. And that's the key, is lowering the temperature in the room, because it's easy to start exchanging ugly words and things get out of control. And then I'm going to go silent. I'm going to make you pay.
Yeah.
Boy, when you start to get in that tit for tat thing that's going on, the temperature elevates. You want to lower the temperature, right? A gentle answer turns away wrath. Right? Proverbs 15:1. Great wisdom from the ages.
Remember the little concept we taught in the last episode? Different isn't wrong. Different is just different. Right. That really shows up in good fights.
Many times the fight starts because
yeah.
we don't believe we believe it's wrong.
Yeah, that's why we say understanding.
Because I'm a man and I think like a waffle, and you're a woman and you think like spaghetti.
And I know it's going to affect everyone in our life.
It is everybody. Everything's going to get connected. The whole world's going to come to an end. And it's all going to fall apart. The guy's going, no. Just 3 minutes from now, you'll forget about the whole thing. Right. Okay, good.
Okay.
Good. All right. So that's how you have a good fight. All right. Are you ready for this next one? Because I am stoked about what's coming next.
Okay, what's next?
All right. This is, really? That's a thing? And I didn't show you any of this stuff ahead of time. I want to surprise you with this. But I found a website that's got strange baby products. Strange baby. Not your baby's strange, but strange products for babies. And I want your thoughts, and I will share our thoughts, but I want your thoughts about this stuff. So let me
just say something about products for babies. I don't often claim supreme authority on something, but I had 8 tiny humans that I raised, and they're still alive and thriving.
Yes.
And so I'm going to say that I'm a supreme authority on this. I know what works, what doesn't work, what's a waste of money, what's unnecessary. And so I'm ready for this. And I want to dedicate this segment to our 9 grandchildren, hopefully 10 by tonight. And kids, I just want to tell you, Grandma and Poppy have your back. Regardless of what your parents think, we'll protect you from some of these products.
Okay, so let me put the website up on the screen here, all right, so you can see it. Now take a minute to just take a look at it and forget about all the advertising on the screen, but there it is. There's the first product from Burberry. It's baby perfume. Your thoughts?
Are you kidding me? First of all, baby smell, except when they're poopy, is the best smell on earth. I mean, there's a reason we take babies and just inhale that smell.
Yeah, you're right. Cleans fresh out of the bath, baby.
There's no smell like that.
Yeah, you want to just like that. That's a good thing.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
Baby
no
perfume. But what
you don't need perfume.
So I'm looking at it again. Baby perfume, was that like eau de poo or what is that?
I don't know. Maybe you do it so you don't have to change the diaper, but that's not going to work. You got to change the diaper.
Let's
so
keep scrolling. You got a thumbs down on the. All right. Oh, okay.
What is that?
It's a baby butt fan.
Okay.
BUTT fan.
Okay, I see it says for when they have diaper rash.
We're all for avoiding diaper rash.
Oh my word. Yeah, just put on the we used to use it was called bag balm. Remember that? Bag balm was what you use on cow udders.
So what do? Do you get the baby just you make them sit there and you put a fan on their butt?
That's probably more useful for adults. We actually know some near to us who have hemorrhoids, and maybe you want a baby butt fan at night for your hemorrhoids. No baby butt fan.
Did you just say the H word on this podcast?
I did.
That's not even funny. No. Okay, back to the scrolling.
Yeah, no, that's a.
All right, baby butt fan. What's this one? Diaper changing glove sacks.
Okay, that's just too much work.
Yeah, that's too much work. That's too complicated. Even for an organized person, that's just.
No.
No. Baby high heels. Turn your baby into a tramp. Don't wait. Start when they're a baby.
Okay, here's the deal. You're going to put those high heels on your baby, and then when they're like 12 and they want heels, you're going to say, "Oh no, you're far too young," and they're going to pull out their baby pictures.
That's
hypocrite.
That's horrible.
Yeah, that's horrible.
Baby high.
That's horrible. They're already tippy enough.
All right, we got to move on from that one. Baby high heels. What is this one? Baby bangs. Well,
Okay, that's just funny.
Okay, well,
That's funny. I might use that one just for the laugh value.
Okay.
That's okay. A baby bath thermometer.
Bath thermometer.
That would be good.
Okay.
That would be good.
You like
Yep.
that product.
Yeah.
All
I
right.
wish they had that with us. I would never have used those.
A PP TP. Have you ever seen a baby boy pee before?
Okay.
Wait a minute. That's the most.
This is what this is for. So we had 4 boys and 4 girls. So when you change a little boy, sometimes if you are not quick enough, you get sprayed in the face.
It's called the fountain of youth.
Yes. Yes. All that is you don't need a PPTP. You just need to build your speed. It's the little bit of exercise moms get during the day.
Well, either change the diaper quicker, or here's the key, right? I learned this. Take the new diaper and put it over the fountain of youth, right? So that if it does have a moment, it goes into the new diaper, and all you got to do is get another diaper.
And if
Are
you
with
see
me on
it
that?
coming, stop, drop, and roll, man.
Stop dropping the PPTP. Okay, all right. All right. Oh, this one. Okay.
Okay.
I saw this one earlier. You're going to like
You
this.
did tell me about this
Okay.
one.
This is the Why Cry. And this is a device that tells you why your child is crying.
All right. This is why God gave mothers intuition. This just reeks of baby Ouija board to me. So don't bring a baby Ouija board into your household. Just you figure it out.
But look at this. Look at this. This device, at whatever price you pay for it, can discern your child's cry, and it can tell you, no, that child is just annoyed. No, that child is hungry. No, that child is what? What's this one up here? I don't know, bothered or something.
Yeah.
It's like, are you kidding me?
And it comes with a set of Ginzu knives. No,
Right.
You know what? If it seems too good to be true, it's too good to be true. Don't bring that into your house.
It's P.T. Barnum that said there's a sucker born every day.
Yes.
And if
Yeah.
you're a sucker, buy that,
Yeah,
this
you don't
thing.
need that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
why
trust your mommy
cry.
intuition.
The babies cry for a living.
Sometimes
that's what they do.
Okay.
It helps them develop their lungs. It's actually a good thing.
All
Who
right.
cares why they're crying?
Babies and teenage girls, both, sometimes they're
Yes.
crying just because it's a day that ends in Y.
Yes.
Let's
Yes.
be honest.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
next.
We'll have to do a whole episode on the drama that's associated with teenage daughters.
Yes,
But that's
yes.
for another. Okay. All right. Let's go back to this. What is this one?
It's a boppy.
A baby mop.
Oh, no, that's the baby. Okay.
Oh my word.
Yeah,
so
that's
you
just...
put a mop on the bottom of your baby so your baby can get disgusting and dirty?
I have one word for that.
What?
Ew.
Ew.
Yeah, no.
Don't do that.
No.
Baby-
You don't need
a
that.
That's disgusting.
The Supreme Expert says you don't need that.
A crumb cap?
Just wash their heads when they're done. Good
Okay.
night, Nelly.
All right. A visual stimulation shirt. Okay. A visual stimulation shirt.
No comment. Just keep going.
You want to
Just keep
stimulate them
going.
visually. Get rid of the shirt.
Just stop. Stop. Just keep scrolling, man. Keep
Was that
scrolling.
for the baby
keep,
or was that
keep
for
going.
Was that for dad? A poop alarm? What's a poop alarm?
Your nose. Your nose is a poop alarm. You don't
All right.
need it. Wow, all these things you could spend money on. Okay. It's a spare rib teether. You can get that at Petco, and it's probably a little cheaper.
This is how to like raise a redneck, right? Like other kids just have a normal little binky teether, but a redneck, a spare rib redneck.
Actually, we knew some really big babies that had steak before they had teeth. They might like that.
Okay, the baby lasso. Explain that to me. What
Anything
the
that says
heck?
lasso with your child, you don't need. I mean, honestly, you're just making what is a 3-minute job a 15-minute job. So throw it out.
Just looks like a visit to the gyno. That's awful.
Yeah, it does. You
That's
don't want to.
horrible.
You don't want to do that.
All right.
Those are actually okay. I like those.
A mesh feeder? What is
yeah,
it?
yeah. You can put soft baby food in it, and they just suck on it. That would be great in the car.
Okay, all right. That's a good thing. All right. A wipe warmer. Let's finish with this one.
Okay. Oh no, there's one after that we
There's
have
one?
to do.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So wipe warmers are actually. I kind of wish they'd had them. We lived in Maine when we had several of our babies, and I do remember leaving the wipes in the car and bringing them in and having to crack them.
Oh, they were frozen
They
solid.
were frozen solid.
Yeah, the kids didn't like it so much. But you
It's
need
kind
a
of
wipe.
funny, yeah.
Right.
So yeah, I could have used a wipe
Okay,
warmer.
all right.
I may have bought one of those for
A
one of our
wipe
daughters
warmer.
too.
What's next here?
The shower cap, that's okay. That's okay. Actually, I know one of our teenage sons that would have liked that, but that's
Okay,
I
all
won't
right,
share the
here we
story.
go. Here, I like this one. The thud guard. It's got little ears on it.
Okay, so that's for
What
your
is a thud guard?
You're learning to walk baby, so when they fall over, they don't hit their little noggin. And so I learned to walk when I was about 8.5 months old. I still have like a dent in my forehead, and it upset my mother how often I had bruises on my forehead that she covered. We have baby pictures of me with my forehead covered in corn pads, those little thick
Like
things.
that was going to stop a concussion.
Yeah, so I actually, the thud guard with a child, if you have a child that walks at 8.5 months, maybe, but you probably don't.
The whole health
don't
and
need a
safety thing
thud
drives
guard.
me crazy. We'll do a whole episode on that. But why don't you just wrap your kid in bubble wrap and then put him in bed and don't ever let him get out? I mean, life has a lot of perils.
Yeah, let me wrap this one up for us. So, you know what? There are tons of things you could buy, but the truth is they take more time, and your time is already, a precious commodity with a baby. And secondly, God gave you everything you need to be a mom. You have a nose, you have eyes, you have ears, you have hands. You can do it. You don't need all the stuff.
Yeah, you don't need all the stuff. That's for sure. But
well, thank you for that.
wow,
that was kind of
worth
fun.
a good laugh. Okay,
that was kind of fun. I might buy the baby bangs though for our grandbaby.
Well, that finishes really.
That's a thing? Just for fun.
Yeah, we're gonna do that fairly often, just because that's just so much fun.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's segue now to our final segment for this podcast.
Oh, good.
And let's do Megan's boss adulting tip of the day. Take it away, Meg.
All right, here's your boss tip so you can win at adulting. So all of us deal with finances, and especially in this economy, it's worse than ever. So when you see something that, you like it, you love it, you got to have it. That's a Cold Stone Creamery ice cream quote. Do this. Go ahead, put it in your Amazon basket, but then I want you to think about it. I want you to think about it for 48 hours, please. And if at 48 hours it's still something you gotta have, then find a way to get it. But often I put things in that basket, and 2 days later I go, you know what? I have something that would work for that. Don't spend the money. Don't make a decision today recklessly on Amazon, which is just as addictive as any other addictive thing. Don't make a decision today that you're going to regret tomorrow. Give yourself 48 hours and just think about it.
That's great advice. That's really great advice. There's your adulting pro tip of the day. Boss tip.
Yeah, a boss tip of the day. You can win at adulting.
From Meg. All right, folks. Well, that's going to wrap it up for this episode. On our next episode
I can hardly wait.
Death by Adulting, we're going to talk about parrots and pandemonium. Parrots and pandemonium and what that has to do with your relationship. And but I'm going to tease you with that.
More trivia from the animal world. You are the boss at that.
All right, Megan.
Yes, you are.
Get us out of here.
Well, thanks for joining us here at Death by Adulting. I'm your host, Megan Scheibner, with my co-host, Dr. Steve. And remember, when it comes to adulting, what doesn't kill you?
Just makes you tired. We'll see you next time.